What's up, you guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy you're here. We had some pretty good signups, so I do want to get started as quickly as possible because we just have so much to get to. So I'm committed to keeping it in an hour. But there is hopefully 45 minutes, but there is a lot of content. So I am gonna ask you to say hi in the chat. The chat should be enabled, and make sure that you click on everyone, not just host and panelists, but you can use the drop down button to make sure you click everyone in the blue box because it might say hosts and panelists. So I'd love to see who's here, where you're from. Are you from Miami? Are you out of town? Are you excited about the race? So yeah, introduce yourself, say hello. But let's go ahead and get started. Just like I said, there's so much to get to. So welcome to Master Your Next Triathlon. And this is going to be specific to the Integrity Multisport race that's coming up this Sunday. This is their second triathlon of their series, but you can apply these principles and these tips to any sprint or Olympic distance triathlon that you might be doing in the future. So basically, are you ready? And the appropriate answer would probably be yes, because the race is Sunday. What's up, Chester? Good to see you. And Trisha, all the way from Atlanta. Good, good, good. All right, cool. So like I said, it's do or die, right? You're signed up for the race if it's this weekend or an upcoming race, and it's time to face the music. So butterflies are completely appropriate. Let me move my chat out of the way so I can read my notes. But this is normal, right? So it's getting those butterflies to fly in formation. That is the key to your success. But it's normal to be anxious. It just means that you care. If you weren't feeling a little bit anxiety, or let's call it excitement, it just would mean that you really didn't care about what happens. And of course, you want to have a good result. So who wants to learn to get those butterflies to fly in formation and learn some great tips? Like I said, congratulations for being here. And no question is too silly. So I will be asking periodically and at the end, if you have any questions. I do recommend asking questions in the moment. I'll check the chat every couple of slides because I don't want you to forget, okay? Or I might go back at the end, but just type in the question, okay? So let me know which race you're doing. If it's this weekend, are you doing the sprint distance tri? Are you doing the duathlon? Are you doing the international distance tri or duathlon, or even the aqua bike? A lot of times I do these clinics, and believe it or not, people don't know what an aqua bike is. So a duathlon is a run, bike, run, and then an aqua bike is a swim bike. So if you don't like to run, you can actually still participate and race, which I love. So let's go ahead and settle in. I'd love for you guys to sit up straight, put your feet on the floor, wiggle your toes. Let's put your hands palms up and go ahead and close your eyes for me and take a nice deep belly breath in through your nose. Another little short breath and a big, let's do 2 more of those. And last one. All right, cool. So I'm a big fan of breath work. And if you stay to the end, I will teach you my favorite pre-race breath work to help you guarantee to not have any kind of a panic attack or an issue where you feel like you pushed too hard on the swim. That can be something that happens. And if you stay to the end, we'll go through a round of this breath work, and I guarantee on race day and maybe on Saturday morning, you should practice it, but you will feel so smooth when you go to start and end the swim portion of the race. It's a game changer. So stick around for that. So what's this clinic for you? What's in it for you? My goal for you is to come away with useful, helpful information for this race and every race after this one. So there might be tips in this particular presentation that you're not ready for, but I am expecting you to do many, many races after this race. So maybe this race, you don't have your shoes clipped in on the bike, or maybe this race, you're not ready to go with no socks, but it might be something you want to try in the future. And number one rule of racing is never try anything new on race day. But the beauty of being a first timer, everything is new on race day. So you can make some changes. If I'm suggesting something here and you want to try it, you probably could, try some of my suggestions just because it's your very first race anyway. And we actually have a couple days until race day. So we actually have some time to try things out. Okay. So number one rule also is apply what works for you. So like I said, this might not be the time that you're going to run with no socks or bike with your shoes in your clips already, but it might be something for the future. Okay. So use what resonates for you and then maybe try something else in the future. But we have, like I said, I guess I already said all this stuff. I'm ahead of myself. The number one thing that you can do between now and race day is prepare between the ears, right? So your mental skills and getting mentally prepared is actually really where it's at. So no question is too silly, and stay all the way to the end, like I said, for that breath work. So I hope it's okay if I can tell you a little bit about myself. Who am I? I might know some of you. I've been in the industry for 28 years. This is my 28th year in the sport. I am still currently a triathlete, an active participant in the triathlon racing scene. This is me and my daughter. She's now 18. I can't believe it. And she's also a triathlete, but she's retired. She did like 9 triathlons when she was little, and now she's on to bigger and better sports. But not me. I have continued to train and race. I've done over 360 triathlons since 1997. Wait, go back. So I became a coach in 1999, and I also became a holistic lifestyle coach. And so I combine those two coaching aspects, triathlon coaching and holistic lifestyle coaching, and I've created my own special methodology of training to help triathletes have longevity in the sport. Believe it or not, the average triathlon lifestyle, the triathlete lifestyle, is only 5 years, and I've been doing it for 28. And it makes me sad when I hear that people get burnt out or injured because they're not quite doing it the right way. So I definitely have some tips and tricks, and you're going to learn a lot today, but there's so much more. And if you're interested in learning more, I am also going to be offering you a free week trial for attending this webinar. So my first race was 1997. I got hooked, and I've coached thousands of triathletes to hundreds of podiums. I myself has also achieved hundreds of podiums. And each athlete I coach is completely different, and we always learn from each other, right? So I always learn more about how to coach someone better from every single athlete I coach. And I also race a lot in order to give you guys the real-time tips based on, new data, there's so much new information about training and your physiology and scientific information about the body that everything is new, right? It's constantly getting, better. I have 4 other coaches that work for me, possibly 5 coming on board, another 5th one coming on board. So you're in the right place. I have a lot of knowledge, and this is my dream system, triathlon transformation. And basically, we start with your dream, we do your testing and evaluation, and we create your custom training program. This is my signature 16-week program, but I also have an 8-week beginner triath program. So if you're newer to the sport, you might not be ready for all the details of the bigger program, but the beginner tri program is great and honest. And also the free week trial is a great way to see what it's like to work with a coach at no cost to you. So I'd love to hear from you. You're going to get some follow-up emails. If you're interested, please reach out. So of course, we're all over social media. I have Full Circle Coaching and Erin Guthrie on Instagram. I have a free Triathlon Obsessed Facebook group, what I'd love for you to join. It's totally free, and we post lots of great content there every single week. And I have my own YouTube channel. So Full Circle Coaching, we have over 200 videos and how-tos, and it's a great free resource. And of course, my website, fullcirclecoaching.com. On the race day, you will receive a race day checklist in your packet, and we're going to go through that. So this is my group. Last year at the we had the state championships here in Miami. So we got a couple of medals and placements, but it's a great group. We're local and online. So even if you don't live locally, we still can support you all over the world. So Who is doing which distance? So the breakdown of the distances of the race are the sprint is a third of a mile swim. It's about 500 yards, a 9-mile bike, and a 3-mile run. It's not a 5K. So just sometimes people, say, oh, it's a 5K. It's actually a little bit shorter. So sprint, you can see the distances, the aqua bike, and then the international is a 2/3 mile swim. We're going to review the course. So don't worry, 18-mile bike and then a 6-mile run. And the aqua bike, like we talked about, is the shorter distance, the longer distance swim, and then the bike only, no run. So I'd love to know, let me check the chat. I would love to know what distance race you are doing. So what distance race are you doing? Let's go. I have a question in regards to this upcoming event. Will there be anyone checking for sharks? Well, I love it. So Juan, I will tell you, I have probably raced in this location over 100 times over the last 28 years between racing and training in this location. And I have never seen a shark in this particular location. It's very shallow. It's very clear. And sharks are afraid of us, okay? With the swimmers, all the swimmers that are going to be jumping in the water, you do have nothing to fear as far as a shark. There has never, ever in the history of triathlon, during a triathlon, had a shark attack. So I love the question, but you are guaranteed, I give my official guarantee that you will never get bit by a shark during a triathlon. So we got some people doing the sprint duathlon. Chester's doing the international try, a sprint try. And Juan, which distance race are you doing? I'd love to know. I'm actually racing the sprint. I'm a short course. I love short course racing just because I can race a lot. So race preparation, the week before the race, which is this week, it's a great time to reduce your volume of training, okay? So lower volumes, get your 8 hours of sleep, all night up until race night, right? It's typical on Saturday night not to sleep that great because we're excited about the race, and maybe you'll wake up and check your watch, every couple hours. And don't worry, you can still have a great race on little sleep as long as you've gotten the sleep you needed the whole week before. Okay. So race week is also a great time to get a massage. I would recommend getting a massage as soon as possible, not the day before the race, because sometimes massages can make you sore. So I would say the last day to get a massage would be Thursday, maybe Friday, as long as it's not a deep tissue massage. And definitely get your bike checked out. If any of your, I'm going to ask you guys what your concerns are about the race. And if one of your concerns is a flat tire, the best thing you can do to prevent a flat tire is get a new tire, right? So if you have new tires on your bike, the chance of you getting a flat during the race is like pretty much zero, just because it's a brand new tough tire, right? And you should always check your wheels before races, just in case if you have any gashes. It's not worth it. You've trained all this time to risk getting a flat. And if you don't know how to change a flat, we do have a video on our YouTube channel on how to change a flat tire. I do recommend learning that. The other thing I would love for you to do is write out your race plan, and we're going to review that today. So you have time to write out your plan. With my athletes, I ask them to submit a race plan before every single race, no matter how many races you've done, because things change, right? Your paces, your heart rate, all these details change as your fitness changes, right? So and then tapering means less volume. So the longer your race is, the longer your taper. So for the sprint try, maybe you trained hard today and yesterday, but starting tomorrow, I would definitely recommend going easy, easy, easy to have at least 3 days of, less than 30 minutes of activity, very low intensity, except for a few ORPs. You see how I say ORPS, over race pace sprint. But those are literally 30 seconds to 2 minutes max. You're just kind of touching that intensity because we really want your body to recover. You want to show up on race day and be able to perform. Now, there is a caveat to that because some of my athletes are training through the race. They actually have a long bike on Saturday, and then they're going to show up on Sunday and do the whole race. And the reason someone would do that is because this is not an A race for them. This is a C race, meaning they don't care how they turn out, the results. They just want to go through the motions of the race setting, and all the anxiety and all that stuff, all the excitement, and still deliver even when they're tired, right? So this is where racing short course can benefit you if you're even training for an Ironman. These ORPs can help you from feeling stale. If you are recovering, you definitely want to include the ORPs. and allow your body to recover between those pickups, right? So the shorter the race, the shorter the taper, the longer the race, the longer the race, the longer the taper. So let me know if you have any questions. So this is my checklist. I actually created this for myself because there were several occasions that I would forget things when I would go to the race. So now I have a race bag that includes all of this stuff: extra sunscreen, extra snacks, bug spray, right? Or organic, of course, no chemicals for me. And also reef safe sunscreen. Really big, important fact. Our oceans are dying. So please be conscious of what you're putting on your body and on your skin. But the most important thing on this list is having a great race, right? Remember to have fun and smile. Nobody here is a professional triathlete. We're here to have a great day, feel alive. There's nothing better than crossing that finish line, but you're going to get this in your race packet at your packet pickup. So, race plan. Your race plan makes a huge difference. So this is where we talked about perhaps taking the time today after this call or tomorrow and writing down everything that you're going to do from Saturday morning. Yep, Saturday morning, all the way till Sunday morning after you cross the finish line. I want to know what your reward is going to be for yourself when you cross the finish line. It's nice to have that incentive. Finishing alone is the reward, but sometimes you can give yourself also a little treat at the end of the race. Maybe you're going to have lunch with your family and celebrate, or whatever the case is. So having that race plan starting from Saturday morning until the end of the race on Sunday is the timeline. Writing every single detail out: your goals, what you're going to have for breakfast, your nutrition, your warm up, your race paces, your heart rate zones, your power zones. And we're going to review all this. So if you have questions, I can answer them. And I love this app called TriCalc3. Okay, so tricalc3.com is an app that you can download. It's free. It's actually a website, so it's not an app. So you can go to the website right now on your phone and you click the drop down calendar and you choose the distance of race you're racing. And it will actually help you calculate your time, how long it's going to take you to finish the race. And we're going to get into why that's important in a minute. So you also want to write down in this race plan your questions and concerns and solutions. So before I mentioned a flat tire, if you already know how to prevent the flat tire from happening, you're not going to get one, right? If you know how to change a flat, number one, if you checked your tires and got new tires, your chance of getting a flat are pretty much zero. But doesn't mean it won't happen. It could happen, right? But if you guys, I would love to know right now in the chat, what are your concerns, if any? I appreciate Juan messaging about the shark. That's a real concern, right? But I guarantee you, no sharks. They're long gone. That first swimmer is going to go through and the group is coming through and they're going to be out of there. And I do have a special invite for you if you want to join us at the race site on Saturday morning to train on the actual race site and swim in the actual water that you'll be racing in to build your confidence. So if you can type in the chat, is there anybody who has a question, right? How to best handle the heat? Chester, this is such a great question. It's always a good idea to look up the weather before the race. And this particular race, I will tell you, is going to be, someone told me today that yesterday was the hottest day in the history of the world. I don't know if that's hearsay, but I will tell you, I think it was because I was so freaking hot. Yeah. So, okay, Juan, I will invite you to the warm up on Saturday for sure. So how do you handle the heat? Well, good news is we just posted a blog about how to handle the heat. And it starts with nutrition, believe it or not, because if you are dehydrated and or under fueled, your body won't be able to use energy to keep your body cooler. You actually have to eat more calories when it's hot so that the heart can keep pumping and pushing blood to the surface of your skin. So extra calories, salt, definitely need to do extra electrolytes from now until race day: coconut water, sea salt in every single water bottle you have, sea salt on all your food. And the whole day before the race on Saturday, I would recommend drinking coconut water pretty much all day, or electrolytes. And not all electrolytes are created equal, so definitely check the ingredients. My favorite brand is Body Health Perfect Amino Electrolytes. It has the cleanest ingredients. And I think it tastes the best. So you can find all my information about my favorites on my website under discounts. But definitely plan on extra electrolytes. And then the other thing is you were not going to, especially if you're doing the longer distance race, you're not going to be able to avoid the heat. So I would recommend bringing I have a cooling towel. Full Circle has these cooling towels, but every aid station, dump it in one of your glasses of water and put it around your neck because it can help cool you. It's gonna, if you freeze any of your water bottles, they're gonna be completely melted by the time you get on the run. Find shade whenever you can. Wear a visor instead of a baseball cap because the heat does escape from the top of your head. And if it's closed off in a baseball cap, I don't know that they're going to have ice on the course. I can ask them to kind of make sure that had happened, but I'm not sure that the race director is going to go to that extra step. And then you might have to reduce your effort just because of the heat, right? To be able to finish. Smaller steps is also helpful too, but hydrate, hydrate, hydrate on the bike so that you have enough fuel for the run to stay cooler. And then check out my blog on Instagram, or I think I have a carousel on Instagram about the heat. Okay, so good questions and concerns, and let me know if there's anything else. I'm here for you guys. So this is the TriCalc 3, and what you would do is you would click the menu drop down. This is not live. This is a photograph of it. But when you click the menu, you drop down and you can select the distance of the race that you're doing. And then you can customize it. So for this race, it's not 25, it's a 0.33 for the swim. And then the transition from the ocean to, or the water to the transition area is probably a quarter of a mile. You do have to run up the sand, and then you run up the sidewalk, and then you run through the grass. So it's a little far. So I would recommend 2 minutes for T1. This is an area where you can always improve upon, but transitions are the easiest way to get faster in a tri. It doesn't require any skill. Like, you don't have to have a good swim stroke. You don't have to run a 6-minute mile, but even running just a 10-minute mile, as long as you're moving, you can have a pretty good, decent transition, right? So it's worth practicing transitions if you are looking to get faster. So the bike distance for this race is only 9 miles. So I'd adjust that and then put in your bike speed. And then T2 can typically be less than a minute just because you're coming in. All you have to do is take your helmet off, take your shoes off, put your run shoes on and go. So typically you should be able to get that down to under a minute, but maybe not this race, but that would definitely be something to work for. And then the run is only 3 miles. So definitely want to put that in. And then you would get your pace, and then you would get your total time for the race, right? So this particular person was going to be estimating a 1 hour and 37-minute race. And it's important to know that information because you want to make sure you have enough fuel and hydration for that amount of time in the heat, right? So if you didn't know that, if you didn't plan this out, you might not eat enough, right? So we're going to get to the nutrition aspect of things, but I love this. And I actually give my athletes rewards when they predict their race, and whoever comes the closest to their predicted race time gets a bottle of Perfect Aminos, which is my favorite amino acids. So it's kind of fun. We have a little contest. So what are you going to wear? Do you guys know what you're wearing? I hope so, right? So hopefully you've trained in it. You never want to try, you never want to race in something you've never worn before, but there are advantages and disadvantages to a 1-piece tri suit versus a 2-piece. You definitely want to wear triathlon material and triathlon gear because it's designed to cool quickly, and it has a smaller pad than a cycling pad so that it doesn't absorb too much water and you're not wearing like a diaper out there. But the more that your skin is covered, the faster you can potentially go in the swim, on the bike, and on the run, because you actually cut through the water and cut through the air faster. The only caveat is it's hot, right? So the sleeved tri-suit on the left, might be a little bit warm for this weekend. I'm planning on wearing my sleeveless, okay, for the race just because of the heat. So just I would rather be more comfortable on the run than be more streamlined in All right, you guys still there? Don't know what happened. Let me see if I can get you back. Okay, you here? Is everyone there? But if you can, type in the chat. I have no idea if I don't know what I did. All right. So obviously we're not wearing wetsuits in this race, but tips for the future. You need to be 78 degrees. It needs to be less than 78 degrees to be able to wear a wetsuit. But in a hotter race where the water temperature is over 78, you can wear a speed suit. A speed suit is like a thin material that repels the water, and it does make a difference. I will tell you, I can say probably instead of like a 145 per 100 pace, you could probably do a 135 per 100 pace. I would say 10 seconds per 100 faster with a speed suit on, depending on the distance of the race. The only thing is you do have to take the time to take it off in transition. So as long as you can do that quickly, to me, it's worth it. I'm a good swimmer, so any advantage I can have on the swim, I'll take it. So I'll probably have my sleeveless tri-suit on with my speed suit on over it for race day, and see how it works. So that's, again, a future tip. If you want to invest in something, a speed suit is a great one. And then if you have a cold water race, I definitely recommend wearing a wetsuit, because it, first of all, makes you faster. You're always faster in a wetsuit. Full sleeve is faster than a sleeveless, and the buoyancy makes you faster, right? So if you have a race that's wetsuit legal, you definitely want to wear the wetsuit, because other people will be passing you that are the same skill as you. All right, so race prep, packet pickup 1 to 2 days before the race. I think you can pick up your packet tomorrow, starting tomorrow at Max Cycle. I will be doing another clinic live on Saturday if you guys are interested. Pick up your packet 1 to 2 days before the race. What's in your packet? Usually you get a swim cap based on the color and your age group, based on your wave start. Okay, so when you go and line up, you give them your name, bring your ID, and they will hand you a particular race color, a particular colored race cap, and then your race numbers. You have a helmet number, a bike number, and a run number, and a timing chip, which will go on your left ankle. But you won't be picking that one up until race morning. They've gotten smart about that. They used to give it to us the night before, and so many people would show up to the race and not have it with them. I used to give the tip where you needed to leave it by your toothbrush, but now you just pick it up race morning, so it's good. And also there's usually some swag. Like I said, I have my little race, my race checklist in there, and any other goodies. So here's my race bag. So this is what I have in there. I always have lights, especially if I'm going to do a bike warm up before the race. I definitely want to have my bike lights on, because I don't want to get hit by a car for the people that are driving in. You want to have lights to set up your transition area. I mean, most people have their phones, but if you have a headlamp, it's kind of convenient where you can have your hands free. You want to bring your wetsuit, speed suit if you're going to use one. Definitely defogger and or 2 pairs of goggles. So I will tell you, if you're doing the international distance race, I would recommend a clearer pair of goggles, because it's kind of dark in the morning, meaning the sun's not like glaring in your eyes, that early. And you can get away with a more clear pair, like a blue tint, instead of like mirrored. Mirrored is sometimes too dark early in the morning. The sprint, the sun has come up a little bit more, but the sprint distance is not going to be looking into the sun at all, but the Olympic might be a little bit. Always have extra electrical tape just in case something breaks. You can kind of tape it together. Always extra food. As I mentioned, sunscreen, bug spray. I'll always bring an extra race cap, because I like to mark my transition area. I get lost in transition sometimes, just because there's just a long line of bikes and sometimes everything looks the same. So if I've marked my area with a little brightly colored swim cap in the corner near my bike, then I can find my bike a little bit quicker. Some people use balloons, and that's totally legal. You're allowed to. Visor, as I mentioned, I always use visor. I will have some visors for sale at the race at the packet pickup on Saturday, and also race belts. And I always bring an extra pair of contacts. Funny story, I was getting ready for a race. My contact popped out while I was visualizing the race. I drove to the hotel, got a new contact, missed my wave start, but I actually had a PR because my adrenaline was so high. So I avoid that now by always having an extra pair of contacts. So these are the 3 race numbers. It now doesn't come like this separate. It comes in like one big sheet, which I need to get a picture of. But you have a smaller number that goes on the front of your bike helmet. This is a race number for your run belt. This is the number you need across the finish line in the run. And this one goes on your seat tube of your bike. And I'm going to show you that. Goes on the front of your helmet. This number is super duper important if you want to have a picture of yourself on the bike, because there will be a photographer. Typically they hang out around the bridge. So if you want a picture of yourself on the bike, the only way they can identify you is with that race number on the front of your helmet. This is your run belt. Like I said, I'll have these for sale at the race clinic on Saturday. Definitely worth the investment. And you just snap these on as you're running out of transition and transition 2, and you wear that around your hips, and you just wear it across the finish line, and it identifies you so they know you're finishing the race. And it's a secondary way to keep track of you in case your timing chip did not work, okay? So race prep, 2 days off before the race, take a day off, I recommend. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. We talked about good sleep. Get your gear together like sooner than later, so you're not running around on Saturday waiting till the last minute, and use your checklist. The day before the race, I actually recommend a warm-up. So most people don't do anything the day before the race, and sometimes you show up to race and you feel stale. I don't know if you guys have felt that when you take a recovery day or 2, you come back and you're feeling a little slow and sluggish. Well, we avoid that. We take the day, the whole week is lighter volume, and then Friday's off. And then Saturday is, unless we're training through the race, of course, but Saturday is a short swim, bike, run, and we'll be doing that at 7 a.m. at the race site. And I'm happy to have you guys join us. And we include a few ORPs. And if possible, you want to practice on the race course. I mean, you should be in town of the race that you're doing the day before the race. I mean, you might drive into town the day of the race, but if you can, you want to check out the scene. You want to check out the swim, check out the bike, check out the run, because the more questions you answer in your head, the better you're going to sleep that night. You're not going to be wondering what's going to happen the next day. You're going to know exactly where the transition area is, how it's set up, how you're going to handle everything, right? You might be able to drop off the bike. Sometimes they do that the day before, not for this race. You're going to bring it with you race morning. You want to check out the weather conditions to be prepared. As I mentioned, it's going to be low wind, so it should be a flat swim, maybe a little bit of chop from all the swimmers, but not a heavy wind. So the bike should be pretty fast, and then the run is going to be hot because of the lack of wind. And then pick up your gear, right, on Saturday, and then off your feet, like relax for the rest of the day. It's only a sprint and an international, but if you're training a lot, you want to show up and have a great race, give yourself some rest. So this is a really important tip. Let me check the chat real quick. Any questions? No. Okay, cool. So it is your responsibility to know the race course. So believe it or not, even if a volunteer tells you to go this way and you're supposed to go this way, it's your fault. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. The volunteers are not getting paid. So we're going to review the race maps. And that's why I really think it's a great idea to go and drive the bike course and maybe pedal around on your bike for the run course, because you just don't want to risk it. I mean, I have had athletes go completely off course and miss first place, right? Because they went an extra mile on the run or the bike because they missed the turn. So it is your responsibility to know the race course. It says to go over to the race, but I took pictures. So basically this is coming into, the causeway, Rickenbacker Causeway. This is the parking area, and this is the transition area here, okay? So you come in and then you park here, and then you're gonna walk your bike over to the transition area in the morning of the race. And this is the bike out, you go to the right, and the bike in is you come back in right here, and you dismount on the street right here. And it'll make sense once you get to the race site. So this is a different view, but here's the transition area. This is the parking. Okay. So this is the transition. You're going to go out and bike down the street here, come back in and come into the transition area here. This is the swim. You're going to come in from here and go right into the transition area. So this is the sprint swim. And you're going to start in the green dots. You have to walk all the way down the beach to start. But guess what? I'm going to recommend you swim down as your warm up. So many athletes that I coach or they talk to me and complain that they're not great at the swim portion of the race, despite being doing the training and getting the work in, but they don't deliver on race day. And the simple fact is you're not warmed up. You know how it feels after 500 yards in the pool. You start to loosen up, right? You start to get your breathing pattern down and you start to feel stronger, right? Well, same thing on race day. You don't want to risk not being warmed up when you're supposed to start. So my recommendation, what I do every single time, is I start from the finish and I swim this whole way easy, and I include my ORPs. I check out if there's any current or waves or anything like that. And I might even swim a little extra because, I swim 3,000 yards a couple times a week, right? So for me to get warmed up, it's usually 1,000 yards. And I don't want to risk having a slow swim start, right? So even as a beginner, I still recommend you swim at least 200 yards and include those race pace pickups because you want your heart rate to get up and then recover back down. So then when you start the race, there's no resistance from your blood vessels. They've already been dilated. Your heart has already been pumping and expanded. So then when you get in the water, even if you are excited and you're nervous and your heart rate goes up, there's less resistance from the heart. So you feel safe, you feel okay. There's less chance of that panic and that overwhelm. Okay. So this is the race course for the swim, and this one is for the international. So on the international, instead of swimming down to warm up, you're actually going to stay around here. This is the start. You're going to, I would recommend still swimming down and back. And then your start is you're going to go down and then come back. So it's twice the distance of the 500. It's 1,000 yards for the international. Now, when you get out, both of us, sprint and international, have to get out. You're going to make this right-hand turn. All the buoys are on your right. You're going to get out, and this is all sand. And then sidewalk to here. And this is a road, but there is a sidewalk like straight across. And then, like I mentioned, the transition area is here, and this is all grass. So you're going to be prepared for that. Okay, so this is the duathlon start. So you're going to start, here's the transition area, okay? You're going to go here. I definitely recommend a warm-up for the duathlon, at least a mile warm-up. I actually recommend a mile warm-up for all triathletes as well, starting very, very slow with a couple of pickups. And then this is your race start. It's a 1 mile run before the bike for the duathlon, okay? And then you head back into transition, get on your bike and go. Okay, this is the bike course. It's a very short, fast bike. The only caveat that slows people down is the bridge. There is the Key Biscayne Bridge, the Rickenbacker Bridge. So this is the Bearcut Bridge, and then this is the bigger bridge. And it does get your heart rate up. It does challenge you. So I do recommend taking it a little bit easy on the way up, making your legs spin more, like having less resistance, especially on the way up. You're going to go back down. You're going to go down here. You're going to make a U-turn and go back up the bridge. So your heart rate's pretty high on that second climb. But again, I don't recommend killing it on the way up. I recommend kind of holding your pace on the way up, and then at the top, grabbing your gears and riding safely down the other side. We're going to go over bike rules and stuff like that in a minute. And then you come back into the transition area. You have a mount and a dismount line. We're going to go over that. And then this is your run course, and it is convoluted. So you have to pay attention. Okay, so you're going to leave the transition area and you start here. And it's 2 loops for the international and 1 loop for the sprint. And it's pretty clear. This is a track. You're going to go around the corner of the track, then you get back on the sidewalk, and then you kind of weave through a park. This kind of parallels the street where we bike. And then you're going to make this loop. And I will tell you, this stretch right here is really, really hot. There is one aid station, and it's right here. You hit it at the 1 mile mark, and you hit it at the 2 mile mark. Okay, and then you're going to have another one over here as you make the second loop, like if someone's doing a second loop. So there's 3 aid stations that you'll hit twice on the international. And for the sprint, it's just 2. You get these 2. And that's it. And this one's really, really hot. So just be prepared to push through the heat as you come into the finish line. Okay. So any questions about the race course? Let me just check the chat. I see a question. Okay, for swim, do you ever recommend breathing every 2 strokes to get more oxygen? 100%. So I love you, Anthony. Thank you, because most people, most coaches force their swimmers to breathe every 3. And I have proved it time and time again to breathe every right or every left to get more oxygen in, to help you calm yourself down. Oxygen is speed, right? But you do want to be comfortable breathing to both sides, meaning 20 strokes to breathe to the right, 20 strokes breathe to the left, as opposed to breathing every 3. I'm 100% with you. The interesting thing is if you watch the Olympic trials, every swimmer was breathing every right or every left. No swimmer was breathing every 3. So yes, you can train breathing every 3 to help improve your oxygen capacity, but on race day and on any kind of a set in the water, I do recommend breathing every stroke. So every 2 strokes. So Anthony, yes, I agree with you. Love it. Any other questions, post them. I do have the answers. So this is my transition area. Very, very simple. So I always make a joke that sometimes first-time triathletes show up and they literally bring a picnic basket and a lounge chair. And their transition time is like 5 minutes when it could be a minute, right? And sometimes they look on the podium or they look at the race results and they realize they could have been on the podium except for their transition. So like I said, keep it simple. So I leave my helmet open and unlocked. Your heart rate's high. You come in from the swim, you're tired. You don't want to have to unlock your helmet. Believe it or not, my sunglasses are open and ready to put on my head if you might be racing with a visor. My water bottle has my energy in it. I will typically only use 1 water bottle for a sprint race. For an Olympic, I'll have 2. So this water bottle I won't keep in there. I have my goggles, my swim cap. I keep my shoes on the bike most of the time. Sometimes I don't. It just depends on the day if I feel like doing a flying mount or not. But it is a faster way, because if I can put my shoes on while I'm going 5 miles an hour, that does save me a little time, right? Or you can just put your shoes on in transition, and I do have a video for you. But you want to rack your bike by the saddle and have your front wheel touching. And if you can, you really can't do that because you have a race number, but you do have a rack. So in this particular race, it's just a long line of bikes. You can't really pick a sweet spot because everybody's just jumbled up together, but you do want to have something. This is where I put my brightly colored swim cap on this corner so that I can identify where my bike is. So any questions on the transition setup? This is what the transition area of this race looks like. This is from May. These are my athletes, my crazy athletes. But you can see there's just a long line of bikes. Okay, so my bike was like right here for the last race, right? So it's just, you got to be able to remember where your bike is. So let's talk about nutrition before we get into the race details. So type in the chat box. I'm going to take a quick drink of water and let me know what you're going to have for breakfast. Yes. So all the stuff is going to be in your transition area, Nancy, but you don't want to have a lot of stuff around your bike. Okay. So ideally you've already put on your sunscreen and you're not keeping it there by your bike. It might be in your bag, but your bag should be kind of small. You don't want to have this huge duffel right next to your bike. So I would recommend putting that back in your car, right? So the only thing you need in your aminos should be in a pocket, either, on your bike, right? You want to keep it simple. You don't want to have like a giant bag and take all that time. You're not putting on sunscreen when you get out of the water. You're putting on sunscreen when you wake up in the morning, and you're putting it on maybe right before you leave transition. You're not putting it on after the swim, right? So just be careful about how much stuff you're bringing to the transition area, but a good question. Okay, so if you can, I would love to know what you're going to have for breakfast. Don't be shy. Who's willing to share with me their breakfast routine pre-race or pre-training? And don't tell me you're not having anything, because that's a mistake. A Ferrari does not go fast, or any car does not go at all if you don't have fuel. You guys have to eat something for breakfast. Come on, you guys, don't be shy. Let's hear it. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. All right, cool. I love it. So this is great because everybody needs to figure out what works for them. I have someone saying they're going to have a protein shake with some oats and fruits. Someone else is going to have a bagel and jam with a banana carb drink. And do you recommend for or against carb drink before the race? Yeah, I do. So I'm going to tell you what I recommend, but you got to figure out what works for you. And I'm a huge fan of health, right? So believe it or not, sports nutrition is like really bad for you. And I know I'm going to burst a lot of people's bubble right now, but oatmeal is one of the most toxic foods you can eat in our country. It is full of pesticide. There is no oatmeal in the United States that does not have glyphosate in it. So I never recommend oatmeal. Now, that being said, don't change it for this race, but definitely, let's look to have more nutritious material, nutritious fuel going into our bodies. Okay. So I'm a big fan of every fuel source: protein, fat, and carbs. Guess which one of those three gives you the most calories of energy? Is it protein? Is it fat? Or is it carbs? Anybody willing to take a guess? Nope. So someone put carbs. Fat. Fat gives you 9 calories of energy, and carbohydrates and protein each give you 4 grams of energy. 4 calories of energy. So teaching your body how to burn fat as a fuel is definitely something to work towards as an endurance athlete, which you are. If you're a triathlete, you're an endurance athlete. And here's where the mistake that most triathletes make is they believe they need to live on carbohydrates. And it's just a big mistake because all cardiovascular exercise breaks down muscle. It's catabolic, okay? And yes, you need to fuel with carbohydrates, but healthy carbohydrates, not sports nutrition all the time. Yes, on race day, but other times of the day, like if you're at home and you have access to real food for breakfast, I highly recommend it. So my favorite pre-race breakfast is 2 hard-boiled eggs and a half a sweet potato. And if I'm lazy, it'll be 2 hard-boiled eggs and a banana. And then I will be sipping on my carbohydrate drink. Maybe it's coconut water for the morning. And then I will have a gel or a maple syrup. One ingredient, maple syrup. Can't get anything cleaner than that as far as carbohydrate, about 20 minutes before the swim start. I do also recommend only healthy sports nutrition. So every ingredient that I put in my body, or any product that I use as a sports nutrition, I look at the ingredients, and my goal is to have one ingredient or a combination of ingredients that's all real. My favorite gel is the Endurance Tap maple syrup and or Muir, M-U-I-R gels. They are made with real fruit, organic real fruit, sea salt, ginger, does not upset your stomach, and you get plenty of energy from it. Most of the gels, unfortunately, that's the races serve us are not healthy for us, and they have genetically modified cornstarch and corn syrup. So it's something to think about. I'm a big proponent of eating healthy just because I was taken out of the sport for 18 months due to my nutrition. So it's worth it to me to have the longevity by not eating crap, okay, on the daily basis, but also on race day. So yeah, bagel, okay, that's fine. It's carbohydrates, but a sweet potato gives you way more energy. And I always ask my athletes to test it out. Your next race, just have a sweet potato before the race and see if you feel different, or even before a training ride or a run. See how you feel different having a sweet potato versus a piece of bread or a bagel. That being said, don't change anything new on race day, but I would, like Trish, I would definitely recommend some protein and fat with your oatmeal. So have maybe 2 hard-boiled eggs with it. And in your oatmeal, you could also put protein powder, 1 ingredient protein powder, of course, or peanut butter or almond butter in the oatmeal. So you have some protein and fat if you don't have access to much while you're traveling. I know you're traveling. But play with it, get creative. This is your life. This is your health, right? So it's not something to play around with. And unfortunately, the sports nutrition in our industry is not the best. Okay, so these are my recommendations that we kind of just went over. I do have a blog on my website that says called my 3 tried and true pre-race breakfasts. And like I said, you want to have fat, carbs, and protein. You don't want to have just carbs. Believe it or not, the amount of carbs your brain uses just setting up the race, driving to the race and setting up the race is gone. Like you burn like 300 calories just thinking about race day. So you definitely want to have between 300, 500, even 700 calories if you're doing a half Ironman or an Ironman for breakfast. 2 hours before the race starts. And then about 20 to 30 minutes before the race, you want to have an additional 100 grams or 100 calories, not grams, 100 calories of carbohydrate. And if you want to do some aminos with it, that's fine to help stabilize your blood sugar, right? So like we mentioned, sea salt is a great electrolyte. I definitely recommend that from now until race day. And then the day before the race, I recommend lunch being your biggest meal because you don't want to have a huge pasta dinner and then feel heavy and bloated going to bed at night. And then in the morning, you know, who knows what's going to happen on race course if you haven't evacuated properly, right? So think about lunch being the biggest meal and then have, you know, it's still a combination of carbs, protein, and good fat. Keep the fiber low. I don't recommend lots of salad the day before the race. We don't want to have a lot of fiber. We just want to have normal vegetables. Definitely have vegetables, but like I said, the fiber can come back to haunt us on race day. So hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Okay, cool. So tried and true breakfast. These are some examples: 2 eggs, half a sweet potato with butter or almond butter. Chia seed pudding is a great option. You can put protein, coconut milk, make it the night before, add some berries or bananas in there. A smoothie. So someone mentioned a smoothie, just make sure you're having carbs in the smoothie. It's just not protein. And I would love to hear what your protein source is, your protein powder. Most protein powders are completely toxic. They have like 50 ingredients when they should have one. Organic, grass-fed whey protein. That's the only ingredient you need if you're going to be using a a protein powder. So hydrate while driving to the race and get that warm up in, right? Swim 20 to 30 minutes before, eat a banana, a gel, or maple syrup. For the bike, I recommend water with sea salt. My favorite carbohydrate drink is Vitargo. It's one ingredient, potato starch, right? So there's no flavoring. You want to get the plain. Please avoid sucralose. Sucralose is Splenda. It's a toxic neurotoxin. You don't want to be drinking that stuff. And you want to have, if you're going to do the longer course race, the first loop of the bike, you might want to have something more solid like a bar. And then the second loop, you could have a gel. And the guidelines for drinking is you want to take a sip every 10 minutes of anything you have on the bike. For me, I'm just going to have my carbohydrate drink. If you have a longer race, you just definitely want to have a water bottle with just water in it and then your carbohydrates in one. And for the timing of the nutrition on the bike, I recommend going over the bridge and coming back. And that's when you have your first gel. If you're doing a second loop of the bike, I might do another gel after the second bridge. Then I won't need anything for the run. The other option is on the international, you could have your gel the first mile of the run, because remember, when you eat anything like a gel, it takes 20 minutes to enter your bloodstream. So if you eat a gel at mile 5 on the bike, it's not going to help you until after you finish the race, right? So think about that. Make a plan and follow it. So caffeine, who here drinks coffee and will be drinking coffee on race day? Anyone? Guess what? Coffee is a legal ergogenic aid. So Nancy, don't start drinking coffee. So, you know, it's not for everybody. It does make your heart rate higher, but if you're used to it, it can actually help you. It actually helps you burn fat as a fuel source first. And especially on like a double loop race, if you have a little caffeine on the second loop of the bike and then the second loop of the run, you can actually finish the race a little bit stronger. I mostly recommend caffeine for longer distance races. So don't try the caffeine this weekend, but it can be something that can help you if you struggle to finish a race, you know, just because of general fatigue. It's actually mental that you get a boost of the caffeine and you start to think clearly and you keep eating and you keep drinking to help you have the energy to finish the race. So I am a fan of caffeine, but just definitely be careful with it. All right, so let's do a quick review. Wake up 2 to 3 hours before the race. You wrote out your race plan. I would love to see it. If you want to share it with me, you could post it online and tag Full Circle Coaching or tag Aaron Guthrie. I'd be happy to give you some feedback. Wake up 2 to 3 hours before the race. Like I said, 300 minimum calories for breakfast, up to 700 for a half Ironman or an Ironman. Low fiber, good fat, carbs, and protein. Tried and true, something you've tried before, nothing new. Timing chip, this is where I say leave it by the toothbrush, but don't worry about that. You're just going to pick it up in the morning of the race. Make sure you head to the beach with your timing chip on your left ankle. You definitely want to put it on your left ankle just because it is Velcroed. I always get an extra safety pin, and I actually safety pin the chip on my ankle because, believe it or not, when you kick and if someone grabs your ankle by accident, the Velcro can come undone, right? And if you lose the chip, guess what? You are responsible for it and you don't have your time. This is how the race keeps track of your time. So definitely always safety pin the chip on. And then body marking, they're going to have tattoos, I'm pretty sure. So you mark your left shoulder with your race number. Everybody's going to have a race number. And if you forget it, or if you mess up the tattoo, you can always use a Sharpie. Just be careful because a Sharpie does get on your tri-suit. It will stain it. And try to avoid putting the Sharpie on after the sunscreen. Do the Sharpie number first, then put the sunscreen around the number. Check your bag again. What you should pump up your tires. This is actually old. The new recommendation for the PSI in most tires is 90 PSI to 120. 150 is if you have race wheels that are glue on. Typically they handle higher PSI, but this is all individual. The more PSI, the bumpier the road, but the less resistance, so you can potentially go faster. So get to the race site. I recommend getting there by 5:30 because you're going to have to pack, pick up your race packet if you don't have it already, get your chip and get organized, right? Find a spot in transition and just make sure you're good to go. You want to get that run warm up in after you set up your transition area, right? And if you're going to do the bike, you need to get there by 5:30 for sure. Otherwise, just plan on a run warm up and then the bathroom, hydrate, set up transition. Are you going to wear socks or no socks? Think about the order of use, right? So as you're coming in from the swim, what are you going to do first? I recommend putting on your sunglasses and your helmet and buckle it first, because that's a rule. You can't touch your bike until your helmet's buckled. So I always do that first. Then I put my my bike shoes on, or if they're already on the bike, then I don't have to worry about it. Watch out for your neighbors, right? Believe it or not, there are fights break out in transition when people get too excited about, what's going on. Be courteous. Everyone's there to have a good time and everyone's trying to get to their race. And visualize and imagine that perfect race again and again and again from now until race day. Get your swim gear and then head to the beach, right? We talked about that mandatory swim warm up. And, your mind is very, very powerful. Okay. So the more you think about the perfect race and see it in your mind, you see the sweat dripping and you handling it fine, see the heat and you're good. You're hydrating, you're energized, you're eating, you're drinking, you got perfect strokes on the swim, you're pedaling perfectly in your aero bars, you finish that run, you see yourself cross the finish line. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel that walks you through a visualization. So imagine that perfect race day. Okay, so things to consider. Are you gonna wear socks or no socks? Don't try it if you haven't tried it before. Are you gonna keep your shoes on the bike? Don't try it if you haven't tried it before. Pacing. This is probably one of the best tips to consider, because most people start too fast and finish slow. And that's the exact opposite of what you want to do. But it's hard because you feel really fresh in the beginning. So you can potentially push harder, but typically you won't last. You will start to slow down because you get fatigued, right? So hold back on the beginning of the swim. Find your rhythm. You should have that warm up in, but hold back and then build the pace as you go. On the bike, same thing. Start with fast legs and hold back. Get your breath under control, get your heart rate down, get your nutrition in, and then start to build the pace and follow your plan, your numbers. Same thing on the run. If you can take that first half mile on the run, start slower. get your breath under control, get your heart rate down, and then start to pick it up or stay the same, just finish strong. I'm a big fan of walk breaks. I think they help you reset. You can bring your heart rate down real quick, and then you can keep going again. Make sure that chip is on your left ankle. Are you going to wear a speed suit, clear or tinted goggles? I love having elastic laces in my running shoes just because it's easier to get your shoes on when your heart rate's really high and you come off the bike. You just slip your foot in like a slipper. Game changer. I have a video for that as well. Oh, how to ride the bridge. Let's go back to that. Is anybody concerned about the bridge? The bridge on the race course. We talked about it already, right? So you need to pace yourself for that bridge run. We covered it, so we don't have to go there. All right, so race start, ready, set, go. So there are some rules, right? So warm up complete, stop drinking about 20 to 30 minutes to have that last gel. And then you're gonna decide, are you gonna do your swim warm out and hang out with other people? Or are you gonna go within and think about that race? You know, everybody does better. You gotta figure out what works for you. Make sure your swim cap color, you're lining up with the right group. It is a one person at a time swim start, meaning there's no more mass swim starts, which is so great. Since COVID, they stopped doing that and it's reduced a lot of panic in the water. And you will have to walk and run about in 2 to 4 feet of water. So some people choose to run through that and other people choose to swim. It's kind of your choice. And then you're going to get to the first buoy and take a right. Okay. So positive self-talk. I would love to know if you have any mantras for the day. What's your mantra on the swim? What's your mantra on the bike? What's your mantra on the run? When you have a mantra, it's something that you can repeat to yourself over and over to help you stay focused instead of in the swim thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get eaten by a shark. Instead, you could think about blowing your bubbles, reach for the buoy, right? My mantra on the swim is strong, long, and strong. The longer I am, the faster I go. And the harder I pull, the harder I kick, the faster I go. Long and strong, long and strong. Some other mantras could be bubble, bubble, breathe, or kick, 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 kick. If you're one of those people that doesn't kick a lot, that could be your mantra. What do you say to yourself when someone passes you? I say, awesome. I say, good for them. Way to go, whoever it is, right? It makes me motivated to train harder so that person doesn't pass me in the next race. All right. So I think I asked a question about the bridge, but I think everybody's okay for the bridge. Okay. So this is, I'm a part of Team Thumbs Up, and we help challenged athletes participate in triathlon. So you might see some Thumbs Up members out there where we pull them on the swim, pull them on the bike, and then push them on the run. If you ever want to participate and help volunteer to help these athletes race, it's so rewarding, and you actually feel way better when you finish a race with them versus just by yourself. So if you are interested in learning more about that, just let me know. All right, let's get to the details. These are all the swim stuff that we went over. You're not allowed to wear fins, but believe it or not, snorkels are legal. There are people that can't turn their head well, and they've said that snorkels are allowed in the swim. Sighting. Does anybody not know what sighting is? Sighting is when you look up every 5 to 10 strokes with your arm out in front, kick a little harder to make sure you're looking and seeing where you're going. Okay, you do not want to swim more than necessary. So you have to look up every 5 to 10 strokes. You can switch into breaststroke if you need to, but ideally you're staying freestyle the whole way. The good news is if you do get tired, if you do have a panic attack, you can always rest with a lifeguard. And when you exit the swim, there is going to be a beach there, right? So try not to stand up just when you see the bottom. When you make that last right-hand buoy turn, swim to shore until 2 hands touch the sand, and then push yourself up and, walk or run out of the ocean onto the sand and get going. I mean, you will be out of breath. This is definitely something to train to run up the beach. And believe it or not, this is what a race start can look like, right? So you need to seed yourself accordingly. So if you're not this confident, it's fine to start back here, right? So line up according to your ability, okay? Start the way you have trained. If you haven't trained to be in the front and to get pummeled, no one's trying to hurt you in the swim, but it does happen that you get bumped, right? So I am a big fan of putting my goggles underneath the swim cap to anchor them on. So if you do have a panic attack, the number one thing to do is honestly practice and training. So if it's happened before, you're worried about it happening between now and race day, I would go push yourself to the point of fear and exhaustion and freak out, and then recover from it, because you can recover. You can roll over on your back, float, you can go rest with a lifeguard, whatever the case is. If you come on Saturday, we'll actually do that. That's what the ORPs are about. Blow your bubbles. Remember to blow your bubbles. If you exhale, you want to remember to inhale above the water, try not to swallow water. Roll over on your back and keep kicking, and then repeat that process as necessary. Sometimes the very first time anyone does a sprint tri or any kind of triathlon, it happens. There's a freak out, but guess what? You can literally dog paddle from lifeguard to lifeguard to lifeguard. There's no quitting. No one's getting out of the water. And the good news is you can pretty much touch the bottom almost the whole way on this race course. Okay. So T1, which stands for transition 1. If you have a wetsuit, you're going to peel it off. If not, you're going to take your swim cap off as quickly as possible, because the water is super warm. So you want your head to breathe as you come out of the ocean. And then you want to run to find your bike. Enter transition area, put your sunglasses and helmet on and buckled. We talked about that. Make sure your helmet's on backward. You will see someone riding the bike tomorrow or on Sunday with their helmet on backwards. It happens every race. And sometimes I'm nervous to tell them because I don't want to embarrass them, but it doesn't work when it's on backwards. And the good news is for this race, men do not have to wear tops, meaning you can have a torso exposed, and it's so hot, you might want to consider that. But women, we do have to have a jog bra on. We're not allowed to go bare chested. Socks or no socks, hydration. Try to eat and drink while you're moving on the bike. You don't have to have your number on the bike for this. Well, you have to have your number on the seat post of the bike, but you don't have to have your run number on the bike. And there is a mount and a dismount line. And I'm just going to demo. This is a quick video of a transition. So this is me coming out of the water. I have my swim cap in my hand, my goggles in my hand. Obviously, it's not race day, but so the first thing I do is put my stuff down, and I have my shoes not clipped in. So I put my bike shoes on, wipe the sand off. Honestly, when it's race day, I don't care about much. I put baby powder and Vaseline in the shoes to help with lubrication. So the first thing I do is put my sunglasses on and then buckle the helmet. Make sure the helmet's on straight. And that's it. Grab my bike and I'm off. So I walk and run with my bike to the transition line, the mount line. Then I mount my bike and I take off. Make sure your bike is in an easy gear, so it's easy to accelerate, right? And kind of get out of the way. So this is me coming back. I'm dismounting safely and then pushing my bike from the saddle to my transition area, racking the bike. So unbuckling the helmet, you'll see someone else running with their helmet on. Make sure you take your helmet before the run. Take off my shoes. And this is where I can really put my run shoes on quickly because I have elastic laces, right? It's a little tight sometimes. Baby powder also helps here to help slide the shoes on. My sunglasses are already on. I grab my visor. Typically, I grab my visor, don't have it there, and then I'm off, okay? And also a race belt, all right? So bike safety, helmet must be on. Here's the deal. So you have to stay on the right-hand side of the bike the whole time, okay? So as you're going down the road, you must stay on the right-hand side unless you're passing. When you pass someone, you need to stay on your left. Let them know that you're passing. And before you pass, I recommend looking over your left shoulder. Okay, we're going a little long, so I want to give you guys all the details. I hope you're hanging with me. But there are accidents on the bike, and I don't want any of you to be a part of any accidents just because of safety, right? So you are responsible for yourself on the bike course. A car might illegally cross in front of you. So the police will be out there in the road. We have the entire right-hand side of the road, which is 3 lanes, but there's going to be traffic on the bike going out, traffic on the bike going back in, and then there's actually a lane on the median that is for open cyclists that are not part of the race. So definitely pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. So when you come out of transition and you head down the causeway, you're going to go over the bridge. you're going to make a U-turn. And when you come back, you need to stay on the right-hand side of the road, but not the far right. There's a middle lane in there that you need to stay in, not to the left, because that's oncoming cyclists in the race. But if you go too far to the right, you could potentially run head on into another cyclist that's not in the race, that's just using the causeway. Okay, so really, really important to pay attention. Now, looking over your left shoulder before you pass anyone is always a great idea. You're not allowed to draft. So drafting means you're right behind another cyclist within 3 bike lengths. You have to separate yourself 3 bike lengths between the cyclist in front of you and you. If you're within here for more than 15 seconds, you will get a penalty. A penalty is 2 minutes typically, and you don't want a penalty, okay? If you get 3 penalties, you're disqualified. So when you realize you're faster than a cyclist that you're coming upon, you look over your left shoulder, you pass them, you say on your left, and then you get back in front of them and move to the right, and you keep going. Now, say you're the one being passed. If you're the one being passed, you cannot accelerate and prevent that person from passing you. Okay, even if you're a guy and it's a girl that's passing you and you don't like that. It happens all the time. You have to wait until that girl passes, and then if you have the energy, you can pass her back after you get out of the draft zone. And it's a great way to train, or it's a great way to race, to push yourself. But be careful, because you got to race your race, not anyone else's race. Okay, so no drafting. I don't want to see anybody out there drafting. Now, at that U-turn at the end, someone asked me about this on the race course, if there's anything to consider. Lori, I think, did. And she's going to be watching this. Just make sure, stay to the right. And, cyclists are going to be coming. Hold your line, meaning don't decide to cut way in towards the cone that you have to make a U-turn on. Stay wide, right? Let people that are faster than you, if they come in and they want to make a tighter turn, that's their prerogative, right? But this is where the accidents happen sometimes, is when you're at the U-turn and everybody comes in together. Everyone's going to make the U-turn, slow down, and then accelerate out of it. I do recommend making your gears lighter as you accelerate out of that U-turn. And we already talked about making your gears lighter as you go up the bridge, right? So hydrate and nutrition while you're riding, and start in an easy gear, finish in an easy gear to help spin your legs before you run. And then make sure you mount and dismount in the right place, at the dismount line, not inside transition. You're not allowed to get on your bike inside transition. All right, any questions about the swim or the bike? I meant to ask that. So I do see some questions here. Is it comfortable to bring the phone during the race? Okay, so you are allowed to bring your phone. You just can't have music playing. And if you're nervous about, something happening, just make sure it doesn't fall out. Like, you don't want it to be someplace where it can fall out easily. And it is legal. They used to say no phones were allowed, but now for safety reasons, they're allowing phones, but don't have it be out in the open and be able to fall, Is there a practice on Saturday? Yes, we're going to, Wilma, I will definitely be sharing the practice on Saturday with you. But yes, there is going to be at the race site at 7 a.m. Okay, so we talked about no drafting, no passing on the right either. You want to stay on your left and always pass on the left, and then remit when you get past. And I will apologize now, because when I'm racing and I see people cheating, I let you know. So I have an alternate personality on race day. Her name is Trina Try. And no matter how hard I try, I cannot control her if someone's cheating, just because it bothers me. I train a lot and I like to perform well on race day. This race, I'm just training through it. I haven't been really training that much because I've been on vacation. But if you're drafting, I'm going to let you know, hey, you're drafting, you need to drop back. If you're passing me on the right, I'm going to let you know you could be causing an accident and you need to pass on the left, right? So I will be out there, and I apologize if I sound aggressive, but it really is in the name of safety. So I am going to play this video. This is the USAT drafting and passing rule. This USA Triathlon is like a governing body, but everybody who's passing here for some reason gets out of the saddle. I don't recommend that. You need to keep your butt on your saddle the entire race. You waste less energy and you have more power when you stay seated. But here is the video. Let me make it bigger. Sorry, I'm taking longer than I thought.
USAT has many rules regulating the sport of triathlon. Rules that you'll need to be aware of while on the bike are the ones governing drafting and positioning. When riding in a triathlon, it is stated that you must ride to the far right side of the road and only pass on the left. When you're passing another cyclist in a race, you only have 15 seconds. That means once you initiate a pass, your front wheel must break the plane of the front wheel of the rider being passed. When passing someone who is just slightly slower than you, make certain to gather your strength to make a firm pass where you'll be able to move to the right after the pass. If someone passes you quite fast, that is no problem whatsoever. You will not have to alter your riding at all. If you want to repass the rider, you must first move out of the drafting zone before mounting your counterattack.
All right, cool. Escape out of there. Okay, cool. All right, any questions about drafting and passing? Let's see if I can get out of here. Next slide. Okay, let me see in the chat. Any questions? No. Okay. Yeah. So the round part is down the bridge. It's literally 250 yards past the bridge. You stay on Key Biscayne the whole time. You do not go to Brickell Avenue whatsoever. Okay. Yeah. So you go over the bridge from Key Biscayne, you go down the bridge, you go about 250 yards, you make a U-turn and you come back. You don't go to Brickell Avenue whatsoever. Yes, so I do recommend, Juan, you need to get a tri suit or at least tri shorts. And at Max Cycle, where you are going to pick up your race packet, they have very, cheap tri suits and tri shorts, but you definitely want to invest in that, even though you've never worn them before, because you don't want to have all the drag. Okay, you don't want to have all the drag from a big baggy shorts, or, I mean, honestly, if you have a Speedo, that's what they used to race in. So transition 2, you're going to be coming off the bike. Make sure that you stop before the dismount line, and then you're going to walk or run with your bike to your spot. Now, this is where you might forget. You might forget where you put your bike, right? So you got to find your original spot. Okay, you can't put your bike somewhere else. You rack your bike first, and then you unbuckle your helmet. Do not unbuckle your helmet until your bike seat is on the rack. If you do, you could get a penalty. Make sure you take your helmet off. You will see someone on the race course with their helmet on. And then, get your bike shoes off, put your run shoes on, grab your visor, grab your race belt, and start running. So we talked about the easy laces, the elastic laces. Don't eat in transition. Transition is not a time to be snacking. You could be snacking while you're walking. Take your nutrition with you and eat a gel while you're walking. On the bike, try to eat while you're on the bike and moving. Headphones are not allowed, okay? So here is an advanced transition. This is me in my wetsuit, which obviously you won't be having to worry about. But it does show me mounting the bike with my shoes on the bike, which I don't do a flying mount, just simply because my seat is so high. But I do keep my feet on top of the shoes, and sometimes it does make a faster transition. That's fast, guys. You don't need to be wasting a lot of time. So I swing my leg over, put my foot on top of the shoe, and I pedal with my feet on top of the shoes to get out of the way and get moving, right? Then I put my foot inside the shoe. The loop on the back of a tri shoe is for this specific reason, right? It's meant to help you hold the shoe. And when you come in, same thing. I take my foot out of the shoe, put it on top, pedal, pedal, pedal. And it makes it really easy to just dismount while I'm moving, run off the bike and go. Okay, rack the bike, helmet off, run shoes on. Yeah, my goal is to have less than 1 minute transitions for both, if possible. The longer the race, the longer the transition as well. And there I go. The only thing I don't show is my race belt, right? I'm not wearing my race belt, but okay. So pacing is racing. We talked about that. If you start too fast, you'll finish last sometimes. You want to know your if you train with me, you know exactly where you need to be on race day. There's no guessing. You know how hard you need to be working to finish the job and get a personal record. But if you're new, you just want to make sure you're conserving, honestly, until the last mile of the run. Nutrition, hydration, mental skills. You always have more than you think you do. Okay. Always. There's a great book called How Bad Do You Want It? By Matt Fitzgerald. And it says in there, the body literally starts to hold back and send off alarms when we have more, sometimes more than 30% more to give. But these alarms go off for protection because we need to, our brain wants us to live, right? And if we push even a little bit more, we usually have it, right? So, if you're worried, you usually have more than you think you do. People start to hold back a little bit too quickly, but pace yourself, pace yourself. So what you tell yourself when it gets hard is also important. 90% of the thoughts we think on a daily basis are negative. So when you start to walk or you're having to slow down, I suck, right? Stop sign, wear a rubber band on your wrist and focus on your mantra. I got this. The little engine that could, whatever. Fast arms, fast feet, bubble, bubble, breathe, kick, 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 kick. Stop the negative self-talk. You're out there. You showed up, right? Everybody else is in bed. So plan for the what if and practice it. So if you have concerns, practice it. If you're worried about having a panic attack in the swim, force yourself to have a panic attack and then recover from it. If you're worried about not being able to finish the run, train it. If you can't run 3 miles without stopping, don't expect yourself to run 3 miles on race day without stopping. You got to train it. Okay, remember why you're there. Are you there because you want to feel alive and have fun and notice? Like for me, my first triathlon, I was so in awe that I could have so much fun and get a great workout and watch the sunrise and be around all these healthy people. And it was just such a great feeling. I've done 360 more. What is your mantra? And share in the comments. Have you guys come up with a mantra for the race? I'd love to hear it. So we talked about your subconscious mind. Michael Phelps has some great YouTube videos about he was able to get all the medals that he did because he would literally visualize every single race scenario. If his goggles filled up, if he did a bad flip turn, he would see his adversaries there. He would just imagine it. And there's actually a study out that, you can actually improve your performance just by imagining you're swimming, you're biking, you're running, or strength training. Your mental skills are so, so, so important. I have that follow along race meditation. You guys are welcome to check out on YouTube. Remember, follow your race plan, not anyone else's. This is where people get in trouble as they race each other. And if you're not good at that, you can end up blowing up and then you're walking it in. So this is an example of some other mantras. Dig deep. That's a great one. DBAP. That's kind of a funny one. I had some fraternity brothers, train with me, and they showed up at race day and they had DBAP, black on their forearms with their Sharpie. Does anybody know what that stands for? If you do, type it in the chat. So, thinking or visualizing, I cut through the water like a spear, bubble, bubble, breathe. I got this. I can and I will. As I said, mine is long and strong on the swim. And for the bike, it's arrow and power on the pedals, perfect circles. Looking at my numbers, I know what numbers I want to hold. And on the run, it's fast arms, fast feet, fall forward, fast arms, fast feet, fall forward. Always thank the volunteers because they are there for free. There's no reason for them to be there but to support you. So I always am super friendly. Celebrate the day, cheer your fellow athletes, and smile even when it hurts. So the cool thing about this race in particular is you can go and get your exact race results after you cross the finish line. So check it out. They have computer screens at the race exit. You will get a medal as you cross the finish line. Again, thank the volunteers and celebrate, right? Celebrate your accomplishment. You did awesome. No matter how it went, you crossed the finish line, right? Post-race recap, I'm a big fan of going over all the details of your race. They will take your chips. You don't really have to think about it. And hydrate, 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 wait around, because believe it or not, you might get on the podium. Maybe you got first, second, or third in your age group. And stretch, right? You want to stretch and recover. And what's your reward going to be? So I'd love to know if you guys are willing to post in the chat what your mantra is going to be. Pick a mantra and what you're going to reward yourself with post race. Anybody? I know we went way long, but I'm a giver. I can't not give it all. So don't be shy. Let's hear a mantra. Maybe it's kick, 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 kick. I know who I would suggest that one to. Hint, hint. So come on, let's post those mantras and your reward. So my reward, so I eat extremely healthy, as you guys know, and I'm gluten-free, but I will literally be on during a race and I will think to myself, oh yeah, I get to have pizza today. I'm going to have a gluten-free pizza when I get home. That's like my favorite thing. I have a gluten-free pizza and a kombucha post-race, maybe even a cider. I'm not a big drinker, but one cider, gluten-free. Come on, you guys, don't be shy. Come on. Share with me a mantra. So I shared mine, long and strong. Okay, I'll be waiting for those. So bonus, we're going to do the breath work real quick. Okay, wait, someone did just put something. No mantra, but what? So guess what? The mantra helps you finish. So if you want to finish, focus on the moment. By focusing on the moment, if you're in the swim, you need to be thinking about the swim. So technique, pull, kick, reach, whatever it is. So the mantra is actually a sneaky trick to help you finish the race. So it's worth the time to think about a mantra. So don't leave it out. Oh, this is if you want to learn how to run with no socks. So this is a great way to get a faster transition. And I use baby powder and Vaseline, not non-petroleum Vaseline, right? So I put it around any area that I might rub in my shoe, like around the heel, or maybe inside around my big toe. And then baby powder and non-petroleum Vaseline. There's no like petroleum here. You don't want to put that stuff on your skin. This is for babies. Very safe. It's just a lubricant. Slide your feet right in with elastic laces and off you go. All right, so I'm going to offer you guys, let's do the swim breath work real quick. So we're just going to do one round. Okay, you guys are going to sit up real straight and you're going to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Okay, and we're going to do 30 rounds and it looks like this. Okay, join me. We're starting to count. That was 3. Fifteen more deep breaths. Get deep into that belly. Hard exhales. If you get dizzy, it's kind of normal. Last 10. Okay, you're gonna breathe everything out. Hold your breath. Hold your breath for at least 20 seconds. Okay, now deep breath in. Hold your breath. Keep holding if you can. And relax. So you want to do that at least 3 rounds before the swim start while you're waiting on the beach. And I guarantee you, you will have the best swim you've ever had. I had someone do that. We had a 1 mile swim event in June, and the guy told me he PR'd his swim time by 4 minutes by doing that warm up. So it does help. Okay, so my offer to you for attending the clinic is 1 free week of virtual coaching. So you will be getting an email after the race. I would want to hear from you. I want to know how it went. I want to hear all the details. You must redeem within the next 30 days, though, right? So it does have an expiration date. And I would love to just let you experience what it feels like to be working with a coach and how that works. We do group calls, you have workouts for the whole week based on your ability. So even if you're a beginner, I give you beginner training. If you're more advanced, I can give you more advanced training. And you can find out exactly what it feels like to work with full circle coaching. So let's see what we got here. This is a very informative Zoom, but I think I took this very lightly in the prep and training. Is this something that you can complete with willpower? Well, Juan, let me ask you, did you train at all, right? Have you trained at all? Focusing on my breathing, it's something that helps me a lot. Thank you, Nancy. I love it. Keeps repeating myself that I can do it and how grateful I am. I love that. That's your mantra. That's awesome. So, this is Juan, I'm not trying to scare you at all. Most likely you'll finish the race, right? But people take it too lightly and then they show up and they cause problems for themselves and other people. And it's not fair, right? It's not fair to the people that are doing, they trained, they know what to expect, their body is physically ready for the effort. So as long as you plan on taking it easy and kind of just not like pushing beyond your own limits, most likely you're going to finish, right? So it's up to you if you're going to race or not. But, people have gotten hurt in the swim because they didn't put in the time of open water swimming. So Juan, why don't you meet me on Saturday morning? That's my next thing is I have an invitation to anybody who wants to join me at 7 a.m. at the race site. We're going to park right, next to the beach. There's a parking lot right before the transition area. And we're going to be doing the swim course, the exact swim course of the race. That's usually the thing people are most afraid of, right? So if you guys want to join me, I'm happy to help you. Just so you get that out of your head, can I do this? All the questions will be answered. I don't recommend you racing on Saturday morning. You want to save it for Sunday, but at least come out and just do the swim because it's only 400, 500 yards. If you're doing the longer distance, don't do the full thing, just do the 500. And then do a little bit of a 15-minute bike, maybe go out. You don't have to do the bike. You don't have to do the bridge, but maybe go out and just test the bike out, make sure the gears are working all as well, and then do a 10 to 15-minute run on the race course. And your confidence will just go up 100%. So Juan, that's what I would recommend for you. So you're welcome to join me. I know that was super long, but like I said, I love what I do. I love sharing. So thank you so much for showing up for yourself. And Juan, I look forward to hearing from you. You can DM me on Instagram with details about where to meet for Saturday morning, but you guys are welcome. And like I said, I'll be on Saturday afternoon at 1 at the packet pickup again. All right, you guys, I'm wishing you the best of luck. Have an amazing day. This is my favorite lifestyle. This is my lifestyle for 28 years, and racing is always one of those days that just makes me feel so good. And I know you guys are going to feel the same way. All right, you guys, have an awesome night. Bye.